Всем привет, дамы и господа, с вами Александр Назаренко. 10 ошибок при записи песен 80-х, почему же? Погнали.
Welcome to Watch Mojo. And today, we're looking at the most infamous technical and performance errors that slipped by 1980s studio recordings.
Это Фил Коллинз. Туду. I can feel it cold in the air tonight. Oh no.
You're Only Human, Second Wind, Billy Joel.
Сука, блять!
Even mistakes like forgetting your...
Кстати, эта песня была в каком-то топе худших песен какого-то года. Когда она вышла? В 85-м.
Only Human, Second Wind, Billy Joel.
Сука. Блять.
Even mistakes like forgetting your own lyrics can be magic. After all, Billy Joel's You're Only Human is about overcoming issues more serious than stuttering the line, sometimes that's all it takes, toward the song's end. Joel couldn't help but laugh right after.
Главное, чтоб не сосал за рулем, как, блять, в какой-нибудь в очень страшном кино, блять, а то там аварии были, хуяри.
Kind of charmingly mundane blooper that listeners would immediately figure was a joke. In fact, it was a genuine fumble that Joel found amusing, given
это повысило joy!
the song's subject.
Это, то бишь, радость.
He mentioned in a newspaper interview that his then wife, Christy Brinkley, and Paul Simon convinced him to leave that moment in after hearing the take. With what that brings to the levity in You're Only Human, that decision...
Бля, мне так нравится костюм Джоэла в этом клипе.
...wasn't a mistake. You're only human, allowed to make your share of mistakes. Delayed vocals. Forever in My Life. Prince.
Всех, кого не ставит это видео, святая память.
One lesser-known track on Prince's Sign of the Times isn't quite as tight as the
Снова классный наряд, офигенный лук.
rest of the album. Maybe for the best. Forever in My Life is a declaration of love that's eventually enhanced by droning ad-libbing by Prince himself in the background. Only after layering the vocal tracks did sound engineer Susan Rogers realize that the backing was roughly 2 bars ahead of the lead. Prince decided that this slight discrepancy made all the difference, conveying the frenzy running throughout the protagonist's mind while he waxes romantic. Love may be messy, but this accidental poignant expression deserves to be in the song forever. I just wanna tell you that I wanna with you, yeah.
Обложка классная.
Opening glitch. Blue Monday. New Order.
Знаменитая хитяра.
The hit single that established New Order as synth-pop superstars still had a punk quality to its iconic hook. Keyboardist and programmer Jillian Gilbert opens Blue Monday with a riff that she meant to sync to the mechanical beat of a DMX.
Ну, клип
A
классный.
manual programming error ended
Похуй на эти ошибки, главное клип охуенный.
up placing it slightly late, which split
Ну
the
или обложка, мне этого достаточно.
melody and the rhythm into a consistent groove. The band embraced this maverick twist on the high-tech composition for bringing a flawed human feel to the synthesized jam. With so much dance music that feels coldly perfectionistic, the opening of Blue Monday may be more infectious than ever for that glitch.
Ну это охуенно звучит.
Squeal, Master of Puppets,
Писк? Не знаю. Там нормально все было. Мастер оф Папец охуенная песня.
Metallica. It doesn't seem like Metallica's monstrous masterpiece misses a note in nearly 9 minutes. But nearly 6 minutes into Master of Puppets, Kirk Hammett hits a distinctly shrill harmonic in the middle of an epic guitar solo. He had accidentally bent the string so hard that it left the fretboard, producing what would have sounded
Но все равно охуенно звучало.
like a raw note in lesser hands. Hammett worried that this lick ruined the take, but everyone was so thrilled with its intensity that they wanted him to replicate it. He never could. To this day, Hammett dreads playing such a difficult solo, especially when it was a slip-up that made it so iconic. Metal guitarists have been chasing that perfect off-the-fretboard lick ever since.
Ну это охуенно, блядь.
Falling Behind, Eminence Front, The Who.
Да хуй.
Perhaps Roger Daltrey resented only doing the backing vocals on The Who's Eminence Front. Pete Townsend fronts the anthem's infectious groove, which is suddenly thrown off when Daltrey comes in late at the top of the first chorus's harmony. This glaring error has been quickly exposed by the singer's dead-on harmony during live performances and studio remasters. Otherwise, nobody involved has explained why the discrepancy made the original cut. Some suspect that it was a consequence of the notoriously rushed production on the album It's Hard. Some suspect that it has explained and
Ошибка?
when Daltrey comes in late at the top of the first chorus's harmony.
Не так заметно.
This glaring error has been quickly exposed by the singer's dead-on harmony during live performances and studio remasters. Otherwise, nobody involved has explained why the discrepancy made the original cut. Some suspect that it was a consequence of the notoriously rushed production on the album It's Hard. Eminence Front was still an instant classic, but the absolute perfection of later versions is just a put-on.
Да, охуенно звучит.
Tin Roof,
Тинь.
Rusted, Love Shack, the B-52.
52, Санкт-Петербург. Ей!
It's hard to separate the mistakes from the genius in the B-52's quirky style and experimental productions. The frantic climax of Love Shack actually feels tightly punctuated by Cindy Wilson's a cappella exclamation. The problem is that nobody knew what exactly that line meant. The band members have disputed theories that it's a euphemism for getting pregnant. Wilson was just ad-libbing reference to rusted houses during a take when the band jammed to the end of the backing track tape. Producer Don was so moved by the energy that he cued the Tin Roof line and followed it with a coda in the final mix. It may sound like a precise outburst, but it's really spontaneous nonsense at its finest. Malfunctioning harmonizer, surfing with the alien, Joe Satriani. Generations of guitar virtuosos have been inspired by the Joe Satriani album, Surfing with the Alien. He himself has long been after the otherworldly tone in that opening title track. Budgetary restraints forced Satriani to get creative with studio equipment and recording live to tape. As he blasted into the main solo, his Eventide H949 harmonizer malfunctioned to create an intense pitch. It somehow sounded awesome, but Satriani could never deliberately replicate the iconic tone. He's gotten close enough for Surfing with the Alien to consistently bring down the house as a live staple. Still, it would ironically take some pretty sophisticated equipment and engineering to play the studio version properly. The forgettable Q. The unforgettable
Q.
The forgettable Q. The unforgettable fire. U2. One of U2's most enchanting anthems is particularly moving if you don't pay too much attention right away. Behind the ambient opening of The Unforgettable Fire is the faint sound of Larry Mullen Jr. counting
Прикольное название трека, еще отмечу. Unforgettable.
in with his drumsticks.
Непрощенный огонь. Просто Unforgettable. Я узнал из выпуска «Сагирующего критика», когда была реклама с P.D. Да.
Seconds before he's meant to play. Even more faint is him swearing once he realizes his mistake. Of course, that's just fans' solid guess on the circumstances of the recording. Mullen never admitted to the mistake, nor has anyone explained why it was kept in the song and future remasters. As much as The Unforgettable Fire
Ремастер был?
and why it was kept in the song and future remasters. As much
Без нее трек бы не был таким, какой он есть.
as The Unforgettable Fire lives up to its title, the same can be said of that opening mistake once you notice it. Rambling Roth. Everybody wants some. Van Halen.
А, я подумал, это про трек Tears for Fears, хотя там все охуенно.
I like the way the line runs up the back of the stockings.
David Lee Roth has owned up to not always being professional in the studio with Van Halen. Everybody Wants Some has owned up to not always being professional in the studio with Van Halen. Everybody Wants Some is particularly memorable for the wiry frontman getting carried away. He opens the second verse with so much force that he fumbles the line, "I've seen a lot of people just looking for a moonbeam." And his spoken word ad-lib during the bridge is immediately interrupted by Eddie Van Halen and Michael Anthony's riff. As airtight as the band's songwriting was, they tended to embrace mistakes that added to the intensity of a recording. The flubs in Everybody Wants Some may be particularly noticeable, but they do indeed add to the charm.
No. Don't take them off. Don't take them off. Yeah, that's it. A little more to the right.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Gated reverb. In the air tonight. Phil Collins.
Да нормально. Прикольно же звучит с этой реверберацией. I can feel it go in the air tonight.
One of the most haunting ballads of the 80s is particularly iconic for Phil Collins, breaking the ambiance. He and engineer Hugh Padgham were actually more surprised than anyone by the drum break on In the Air Tonight. They had forgotten to turn off a talkback microphone routed through the compressor after an earlier recording. So when Collins hit the drums, it unleashed an explosive
А он еще и барабанщик.
reverb
Или ты забыл, или ты не знал. Святая память Челиксу, который ты просто сказал.
that Padgham quickly muted.
Oh.
They were so impressed by the final product that they kept it as is,
Ну это охуенно.
not realizing the impending metaphorical impact. One of the most iconic drum breaks ever popularized the deliberate audio processing effect known as gated reverb. Leave it to truly creative artists to turn a mistake into a triumph.
Не знаю, это шедевр. Я не буду называть это ошибкой. Ставьте лайки, подписывайтесь на канал, жмите колокольчик, чтобы пускать новые видео, пишите комментарии, ставьте телегу и на бусти. С вами был Александр Назаренко. Всем спасибо за просмотр. Всем пока.